Hey, my name is Jonathan Clark, also known as DJ Bolivia. Welcome to part 3 of my virtual DJ for beginners tutorial series. This part is going to be about beat mixing and about hooking up a basic controller and learning to play songs with a controller. My first video in the series was an overview. The second examined the controls on the screen, the console. This one, mixing in controllers. The last video, number 4, coming up, is going to be a detailed look at the settings. If you're trying to find any of those other videos, go to djbolivia.ca/virtualdj. For now, let's get directly into the tutorial. Now this one's a little bit complicated because I'm recording from 4 different directions here. I've got 3 cameras going. One camera shows a mix track controller that we're going to use for this video. Number 2 is the camera I'm talking to. I've got a third camera coming to the side and also going to capture the screen. So hopefully between the 4 different points of view I can show you exactly what's going on a little bit better than I'd be able to with just 1 or 2 cameras. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do with mixing, well, I can teach you mixing here in about probably 30 seconds. So if I open up Virtual DJ, playing tracks is simple. Click on it, drag it up to a deck, let go. You've already seen how this waveform works. We'll just start this one playing. And then on my second deck, my B deck, I will bring, let's bring this one. Let go, drops it onto the deck. Now, if you're playing conventional rock songs, any type of music where there's no real beat, you're not going to be beat mixing. So you can pretty much press play wherever you want. And I think that's so simple, I'm not even going to show that part. However, if we move on and talk about beat mixing, then you're going to want to have your beats synchronized. Now, in this case, we don't have to worry about real beat mixing because Virtual DJ has a function, the sync function. It's kind of a cheat, but it really helps make things work a lot better for you. Okay, so all you have to do that, press the sync button and it will align the tempo of the track that's coming in to match the tempo of the track that's already playing, and so you don't have to worry about your timing differences and stuff like that. All you really have to do is figure out when to start playing. Okay, so I've been counting beats in my head this whole time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. I've explained this whole beat counting thing in my Learn to DJ for Beginners video series, so I won't do that again right here. 1, 2, 3. When I come around to this next beginning of a set of 8 bars, an 8-bar phrase, I'm going to hit play. Okay? Well, actually one more after this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. So when I get back to the number 1 bar in the phrase, I'm going to press play on this. Immediately afterwards, I'm going to hit sync. Go. Okay? The reason I hit sync again immediately afterwards is because when I hit play, I'm not always going to hit it right on the beat. Exactly. Okay, if we go over to our mixer, both of these tracks are playing right now. So I can drop out the volume of A, or I can drop out the volume of B. The only problem is with a mouse or with a trackpad on your laptop, you can really only move one control at a time. So in a second we're going to start using a controller and you'll see how I can move multiple controls simultaneously. Okay, so you can see these songs are still in sync. I'm not really doing a whole lot, so this is not really what I would call professional beat mixing in the sense of the technical aspect of it, because I'm not really having to do any work. However, usually your dance floor doesn't care. They care about the music, what you're playing. As long as you're not having overlapping sounds that sound bad because you've got two songs not in sync, then you're going to be, you know, you can keep an audience quite happy with this software. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to stop both of these, and we're going to come out of Virtual DJ for a moment. Now, the controller that I'm using is a mix track by Newmark, and Newmark has different controllers. This was one of the original mix tracks. Since this was released, they've come up with a Newmark Mix Track 2. The Mix Track 2 has a set of drum pads instead of this control system up here. There's a Mix Track 3. There's also versions which are branded as Pro, and the only difference between one that doesn't say Pro and one that does say Pro is that the Pro ones have a sound card built in. This, not being a Pro, does not have a sound card built in. But that's okay, because I have a separate sound card also hooked up right now, and so I've got my headphones coming out of the sound card, which is external to the laptop. I've got the noise, which would be going to the speakers in a normal venue. I've got the master channel noise coming out of the laptop itself, out of the internal sound card, and I'm going to hook up the controller so that I can use it to play with controls on the screen. So you understand, this controller, even though it looks like my DJ gear, there is no audio going through it at all. Okay? The only audio is coming directly out of the laptop on the master channel, which would go to the speakers, and a separate feed going through the USB cord to my external sound card to my headphones so I can do cueing. Those are the two feeds of audio. The information going back and forth between my controller and my laptop, all that is digital signals, which are MIDI signals, and the MIDI information is merely telling the laptop how those controls are affected on the screen. Okay, so when I went to get the mix track hooked up, I went to the Virtual DJ website, I went to the download section, I went into user manuals, and down near the bottom of the screen I found manuals for almost everything. And here we go, Newmark Mix Track Quad, Mix Track 2, Mix Track 3. Well, there's not actually a manual or key mapping set up for this. So I was a little confused. What's going to happen there? Okay, so what happened was, you know, I'm making this a little bit confusing here. There's two different things that you want to understand. There are manuals which explain in printed form how the controls match the controls on the screen, stuff like that. But you also have to install a mapping which matches your controller to Virtual DJ. Okay, so I went and did a little Google search and I found this Mix Track Shifty, and well, it doesn't say Pro, it doesn't say 2 or 3, so that's good. There's some variations. If you hover over, you can see what they say. Okay, well, I like that one. That one's a Pro. That one's a 4 decks. No, I think this is the one that we want. So I'm going to go to Windows, click on that. It's going to download. I'm going to open it. Installation successful. Okay, so now we should be able to close it and open Virtual DJ. Now, before we start any songs playing, let's see if we have any action on the controls. Okay, you can see that I'm moving this control. Okay, this is the right volume, left volume, right deck volume, left deck volume. Center is the master volume for the whole system. So when I move this control, you can see on the screen here, this is going to move at the same time. Okay? It's pretty slick, eh? Okay, we'll do the same thing with the left deck volume, make sure that's working. It's not working. You see something grayed out moving in the background, but there is your main knob is not moving. And the reason for that is because of the different types of pickup modes. And pickup modes basically means just when the controller starts matching the movement of the control on screen with the control here. I have a pickup mode set right now, and there's about 4 different pickup modes, I think, but I have it set right now so that as soon as I get the grayed out background ghost thing to go underneath, boom, okay, it just picked it up, and from now on they will move together. And the reason it didn't do that at the start is because what if you have the volume up loud and a song is playing, and for some reason you've been able to move you've got a new controller being hooked up, whatever, you've got your volume down on the physical controller, up playing to the dance floor. Well, if that was the case, if this control is all the way down on the physical controller, volume is all the way up on the dance floor, up there, well, as soon as I start moving that, boom, Virtual DJ is going to recognize, wait a sec, fader's supposed to be way down here, instantly drop that volume down to the area right here. Even though I'm trying to move this up like that, it's quick. It's far quicker than we are. So, in that case, all of a sudden, your music would cut out on the dance floor very briefly, but still, that doesn't sound good to the dancers. So you can have pickup modes, and that's the way I've got this set, that nothing happens until your control first matches the level on the screen. After that, they're synchronized perfectly. Okay, let's look over at the master for just a moment. And if we do that, you can see that, first of all, I've got it turned on, I'm not recording, I have no lights here, which means there's no music going through the master. My master volume seems to be at the highest setting. Let's play with that master gain. Same thing, you can see the ghost line in the background. As soon as I, boom, match it, from now on I can control my master volume with this slider. So I'm just going to leave it there for now. Okay, what else can I control? Headphones? Well, I do have headphones, so let's put those on. And unfortunately, it's kind of hard watching a YouTube video to be able to understand what's coming in and out of the headphones, but at least I can kind of give you a thumbs up when there's sound coming out of here. You might be able to hear it coming out of here, and that way you'll know when my cueing is working. So basically, on the screen, we've got a volume button for my headphones. Do we have one on the mixer? Yes, it's this headphone gain. So you can see, as I twist it, it's twisting on the screen. And then mix. Do I have a mix? Yes, I do. It's this Q mix. And basically what this means is, if this knob is all the way to the left, the only thing that you're going to hear in the headphones is any track which has a Q button active. So it's not necessarily what's going out to the dance floor, it's which one you've got the headphone icon lit up on. So if track B, deck B, is playing to the dance floor, and I have track A headphone icon on, then even though the volume is down on this track, well, let's try it. We'll drag a song up, we'll press play. Okay, right now you can see the lights flashing on the VU meter for deck A. You can see that the Q button is lit up, so in theory my cueing should be working. You can see that the volume is down, so it is not going out to the dance floor, but there is a signal in there that should be going to my headphones. If I start turning up my Q gain, You can probably hear that. Okay, so we know that my headphones work. Now, what happens if there's a different track playing on deck B? Okay, let's say that deck B is going out to the room. Okay, if my headphones, I'll turn my headphone volume back up. Okay, right now my right deck headphones are lit up, so that's coming through my headphones. My volume is also up, so you can see that the signal is also going out to the room. So headphones right now will match the room. If I press Q on the other one and turn it off there, I've got my left deck coming through the headphones, left deck coming through the headphones, right deck not coming through the headphones, but yes, coming through the dance floor. Okay? So this Q mix changes the headphones. If I turn it over to the right, I will hear what's going out to the dance floor instead of what is supposed to be queuing. So what's the point of this? Well, basically if you're in an isolated DJ booth where you can't really hear the dance floor that well, but you want to hear what's going on the dance floor occasionally, just to double check things, boom, put your headphones on, slap it over to the program side, the right side of the Q mix, and you will hear the dance floor. Turn it all the way back to the left, you will hear the queuing, the headphones. And you can mix and match any setting in between in the middle. Okay, so that's our master. Basically, we do have controls on our mix track for all three of those items. Okay, let's go back to the mixer. Now, what else can we control? We've got low, mid, high. Those are our equalization controls. And if you look over on the mix track, okay, there we go. Low controls low, medium controls the mids, highs, trebles, boom, matches. And over on the right side, same deal. You can control them, and it's got that same pickup behavior for everything. Okay, so now we've seen that the EQs control the EQs on the screen. These control the headphones and the mix. Load A and load B, well, right now we have hijack in the right deck. What if we had global underground down there? Oh, look at this. I want to browse and not have to use the mouse or the trackpad. I can use this button, the browser button. Okay, so let's say I want to load global underground. At this point, since on the screen it is highlighted, if I press this load B button, watch what happens up here on the deck. Boom. Okay, it just loaded it. That's great. Now, something I forgot a second ago when we were talking about queuing with the headphones. Well, you can see this is on, off. Take a look at what is happening over on the mix track. So not only can the controller control what's happening on the screen can control the lights on the controller, so you've got an idea what's going on. So, you know, if I have that turned on, I don't necessarily have to be looking at my laptop screen at the moment. I can look at the controller and say, okay, my cue is here. If I want to flip back and forth with different combinations of settings, I can do it. And it will always be mirrored. As I'm doing that, it'll always be mirrored on these things. Okay, so now we have almost all the controls on here set. Oh, what's this? Crossfader. Okay, so look at our crossfader on the screen. Let's start two things playing. Okay, so watch what happens to this crossfader when I move it on the thing. Okay, that seems to work. Let's turn the volume down for a second so you can hear me better. Now, what about starting and stopping? Queuing? Well, right now our B deck is stopped. You can see that the stop button, well, the Q button is flashing. Well, what if I hit play? Starts playing. Okay, and perhaps a better demonstration of that would have been if I had the volume up. So, but it's pretty straightforward. And of course, the behavior of these buttons, your cue, your play button, stutter, sync, well, the sync is pretty obvious, but the cue, play, and stutter, those will be affected by how you have your smart cue, smart play, etc. set up within your preferences, which will be in the next video. But basically, press play, volume's up on the right deck, down on the left. We've got our master up. Let's start our set. Let's go back to the beginning of this track. And 3, 2, 1, set begins. Okay, that's good. Now, is there other stuff? Yes. Up here in the top right, top left, we have our pitch bends. So, obviously we have our pitch control fader right here. This is volume, this is pitch. This is volume, this is pitch. Well, let's go with a track in the A deck which has a lot of melodic stuff at the beginning, because when we do that, it's going to be more obvious when we start playing with the pitch here in a second. Okay, so I could play with the pitch by pulling it up and down here, or up here. So basically, once you get a little bit more advanced and you've learned to do beat mixing on your own, and you're no longer just relying on the sync button, then these pitch controls, pitch faders, are going to come in very, very handy, because that's how you adjust your speeds to do your beat mixing. Okay, up here we've got a pitch bend plus and minus on each deck, which makes sense. We've got all these cueing and effects control things up here. I'm not going to explain those in this video, because that's coming for the intermediate video, all the hot cueing stuff. We're just going to deal with basic mixing here today. Now, there's not really a whole lot left. Let's look at the platters. Okay, you can see on my left A deck, well, when I play with the platter, cool, that's kind of neat. Let's see what happens when we play with it when the song is playing. Okay, it doesn't follow the behavior of my jog wheel, but it does seem that if I go in reverse, it is slowing the song down a little bit. If I go forward, it is speeding it up a little bit. And so the good thing about that is that that's another thing that you're going to use once you're learning to beat mix a little bit on your own. And so right now these decks are set up to emulate the CD mode on a Pioneer CDJ pitch control CD player, or any similar CD player. Okay, but what if you want something that's a little bit more reminiscent of real vinyl? You just turn on scratch. Okay, let's wait till the music comes back in a second. Actually, we don't even need to. Okay, boom. So now we have the same behavior as vinyl. And what I could do is I could turn off the volume on that deck for a second, get it up to where I think my hit is going to be. I could even zoom in a little bit. Maybe. A little bit tricky working without the mouse. And boom. Okay, so that's where I know my beat is going to start. What I can do is turn my volume up and start it like that. That wasn't a very graceful start, but it gets the point across. And if you touch the platter when you're in vinyl mode, or it's called scratch mode on the controller, but I call it vinyl mode. If you touch it, It's the same as putting your finger on a record and stopping the record temporarily. Okay? Do that with that off. Doesn't matter, because it's like a CD player. Exactly like CD mode on the CDJs. Okay, so let's, now that you've seen how all these controls match the controls on the screen, you can see why a controller is incredibly, incredibly useful for a DJ. And you can see now why Virtual DJ can get away with having this software absolutely free for people using it at home without a controller. Because you're going to get hooked. And you're going to, as soon as you, well, definitely as soon as you start playing real gigs professionally, even before then, you're going to want to start playing with a controller, and then you have to pay for the software. Brilliant, brilliant. So I guess before we finish off, let's just let's do one more mix just to make sure this all makes sense. So I'll try and do this without touching the laptop too much. In my left DAC, I'm going to load Hijack. In my right DAC, I'll load Skyscraper. I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to, can I do that? There we go. I'll double click that. I did double click that just to put it back in the center so it's at its original tempo. You can see that this track is 126 BPM. This is 128, so they're not going to synchronize naturally. On the left deck, I'm going to press I'm going to put my volume up. I'm going to press play. Okay, and hopefully you can hear that reasonably well over the camera microphones. I know it's not a perfect system. Now, I'm counting phrases, so I know where we are. 3, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I zoomed out a little bit just so I can get a better visual representation. 8, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Oh, look at that. Now, they're playing at different speeds, so maybe what I could do is I could press sync, or I know it's going a little bit too fast. I'm going to cheat, and instead of doing this by ear, I'll use the beat counter, and I'll see right around, well, that's pretty close. So now that we know we're pretty close, let's sync just to make it easier, because that's what everyone does. Not everyone. You'll get to learn to actually beat mix properly with this eventually, but when you're starting out, sync is the way to go for you as a beginner. And I know there's probably going to be professional DJs here who are hating the fact that I just said sync is the good way to go for a beginner. Well, I mean, if you don't know me already, you're just moving into the video at this point. I will clarify once again that I did learn to beat mix on vinyl on decks, and I played at parties on vinyl for 15 years before I touched anything like this. So I have a lot of respect for both sides of the equation. Okay. 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I hit play on what should have been the first beat of the first bar. I immediately noticed I was a tiny bit late hitting it, so I hit the sync to line them up. Right now, I could put on my headphones and double check that they're playing at the same tempo. I'm not going to do that because you can't tell the difference, so what's the point? And I know that they actually are at the same tempo, but let's start mixing one in. And I usually turn the bass down as I'm mixing a new track in, and maybe even turn the mids down a bit too, halfway. Bring it up slowly. Okay, right now they're both playing. that's not very fancy, but hey, it works. Okay. Now you know the basics. I am going to do a couple sets with this setup. I have a couple episodes of my weekly radio show, Subterranean Homesick Grooves, which I have to make this weekend. So I'm going to do one with this exact setup, and that will be Subterranean Homesick Grooves number 351. Then I'm going to rearrange this equipment. I'm going to bring in a different mixer, Allen and Heath Zone 4D. It's a pretty fancy high-end mixer. It's also got a controller built on board, and so I will do a set with that, which will be a little bit different setup. I'll explain that for just a second at the beginning of that set so you can see what it does. But, you know, there's so many different types of equipment that you can connect to your laptop and connect to Virtual DJ. There's so many controllers, so many mixers, so many sound cards that you might be using for queuing, so many systems you can play with out on a dance floor, at a club, at a warehouse party, house party, whatever. You know, one thing you will have to learn is to become versatile and expect the unexpected. You'll get used to your own equipment, but every time you go to a new venue, it's a good learning experience, and it gets to be pretty fun to see all the different setups that you'll encounter when you do get to DJing at a lot of paid gigs. Okay? So for now, that's it for this video. This was a short one. If you want the links to the other ones, go to djbolivia.ca/virtualdj. I'm Jonathan Clark. Thanks for watching this segment, and we'll see you in part 4.